it's not just sort of virtuous seeming to admit to when you are wrong. It's also very beneficial because it allows you to actually learn what the hell's going on. And this is one situation in which I need to continue this behavior, because recent videos have brought my conversation into the realm of the Kalam argument, and I've never actually done this before. The reason being was because I was approaching first cause arguments differently. I was doing it similar to how Thomas Aquinas was. I later found out. But recent events have brought me to this, and I wanted to address it. What I have decided is that I don't understand the argument, and I don't think the argument ought to be understood. Meaning I think it's ridiculous. I think the arguments against it are mostly valid, but, or at least they are pointing to something that would be valid. But I think the argument itself is sloppy, and I tried to articulate this in the last video. What essentially I'm coming at here is a different argument. I'm not trying to defend the Kalam, and certainly not William Lane Craig. I'm making an independent argument of all of that considers this notion that everything is just a concept, dude. It's not. At least we don't assume it is in science. We assume that what we can label epistemologically as separate events are indeed separate events because we are looking for causation. It's like when science takes a piece of aspen bark and sees that the fever is cured, they say it's the aspen bark. And no, the scientist says, no, there's a part of the aspen bark, and isolates something that we label epistemologically aspartame that is in the aspen bark, and that is what causes the fever to go away. Okay, so that, and in that what is the word? So many E words. Empirical. In that empirical demonstration, we are actually classifying things, labeling things epistemologically based on actual ontological distinctions between things. Okay, and it's not just merely arbitrary. It's not all just a concept. Okay, get what I'm saying here? To continue with that thought is a better understanding of a position that I've been taking without really understanding what position I was taking. When you guys ask, like, oh, we need to sit down and flesh out your theology, we haven't done that because I don't know what it is. But I'm going to offer you this analogy, and it's the analogy of, I don't know, what's a sexy name? I don't know. Come up with a sexy name. The analogy basically involves understanding physicality in terms of a primordial energy that all things can be reduced to. It's the point in which something, an object that we recognize epistemologically, could be reduced to and not any farther. That it just stops. That in the end we have a primordial energy that consists, or that all physical things consist of. Okay? Here's the analogy. Say we have a machine, a magical machine that can do this for us. That is to say, we could take a coffee mug, put it into the machine, it floats around a little bit, spins, sings Hallelujah and Ave Maria, and the thing melts down into its primordial energy. It goes from coffee mug to primordial energy. The second part of this analogy is this. Say that we can feed into this computer, this machine, a formula that is preconceived by the user, by a human being. And when we feed this formula into the machine, we're telling the machine to reconfigure that primordial energy in a very specific configuration, a predetermined configuration, one that is prescribed by the formula. You follow me? The end result, say, is the reconfiguration of the primordial energy in such a way that that coffee mug, that specific coffee mug that was put into the machine, is remade. It didn't come from nothing, it came from a primordial energy. But it was arranged in such a way that it was given the, here we go, emergent property of what we call a coffee mug. Okay, here's the consideration. This is the crux of this. If we remove that formula and the machine melts the thing down again, and we insert precisely the same formula, and again precisely that same coffee mug is made, We are demonstrating control. And this is very important. We're demonstrating that there is a cause for an emergent property of coffee cup-ness. And the question is, what alternative do we have but to assume that that mathematical formula we are feeding into the computer is not actually a representation of an actual ontological phenomenon that the primordial energy is interacting with? Okay? That the formula is a representation, genuinely, of an ontological event that somehow operates upon the primordial energy to give rise to what a human being would perceive as a coffee mug, and does it every time. We put in a different formula and the coffee mug is not made. Not precisely the same way. And however many times we use a separate formula, so long as it is the same formula, the primordial energy reconfigures in a way that gives rise to precisely the same thing over and over and over again. My question, again, is thus: what alternative do we have but to assume that that formula is actually representing a genuine ontological event? Then the question is, where is that ontological event?